What if the future of the Pilates industry isn't just about better workouts, but also better leadership? Because right now, the industry is shifting fast. Studios are growing. There are instructors that are entering the industry. There are new equipment brands that are emerging. Consumer expectations are changing. And I think many studio owners are asking the same question, which is, where is all of this heading? And how do I make sure that my studio stays relevant? Well, today's guest has a unique perspective on that conversation because she's not just inside one studio, she has a front row seat to the global Pilates industry. CJ Zarb is the founder of the Pilates Journal and creator of the Pilates Journal Expo. And she's joining me to talk about the industry, where it's headed, why community and collaboration matter more than ever, and what studio owners need to know if they want to grow sustainably over the next 5 years. Well, hi there, I'm Seran Glanfield. I'm a business and marketing strategist just for boutique fitness studio owners like you. If you're ready to be inspired and make a bigger impact, you're in the right place. All you need are a few key strategies, the right mindset, and some support along the way. Join me as I share the real-life insights that will help you grow a sustainable and profitable studio. This is the Pilates Business Podcast. Hey there, welcome back to the Pilates Business Podcast. I'm really excited for today's conversation because we are talking about the future of the Pilates industry. And honestly, it's a conversation that every studio owner needs to be paying attention to right now. The industry is evolving quickly, and I think folks are no longer asking, how do I survive? They're asking, how do I lean into this growth? How do I grow sustainably? How do I lead a team well? How do I stand out in this crowded market? And what's next for the industry as a whole? Because growth today comes with a new set of challenges. Capacity can become the bottleneck, and leadership is more important than ever before. Marketing is more sophisticated, client expectations continue to rise, and many studio owners are realizing that incredible teaching alone is no longer enough to build a truly sustainable business. Which is why I'm excited to welcome today's guest, CJ Zarb, the founder and editor-in-chief of the Pilates Journal. CJ originally trained with Polestar Pilates in Sydney, and after years of exploring different methods and approaches within the industry, she saw a real opportunity to create more connection, education, and collaboration across the Pilates world. And that vision became the Pilates Journal, which has grown into far more than just a media platform. It's now a global connector for instructors and educators and studio owners and brands and industry leaders. And what makes CJ's perspective so valuable is that she's constantly speaking with people across the industry all over the world. So she sees the trends, she's having the conversation, she's listening to the challenges and seeing the opportunities emerge in real time. So today, we're diving into where the Pilates industry is heading, why business education matters more than ever, and what studio owners should really be focusing on as they grow. CJ, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, it's great to see you again, Seran.
So many of you may know that I attended the Pilates Journal Expo back in January in LA, where I got to meet CJ face to face after we were chatting for, over email so many times, right? And it was a wonderful experience to be there on the beach in Huntington Beach. So tell me a little bit about, as you now, reflect back on that expo and having obviously done, 3 or 4 in Sydney. Perhaps you can talk a little bit about your reflections from that experience and then how that compares to what you've seen elsewhere in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously our event in LA in January was a really exciting kickoff because it really gave us a sense of where the industry is headed next by the people that showed up in the room, people that were very curious about where the industry is headed, what that looks like for them, and being open-minded to consider what's coming next. So we had lots of different educators from all different sides of the industry in the room, a lot of them looking at things differently for the first time, as I mentioned, but also just being open-minded enough to sit in the space, sometimes a little bit of discomfort, but also really allowing themselves to sit along peers that perhaps they haven't sat alongside before and hear from educators and realize that at the end of the day, we're all heading in the same direction, that we're all wanting to create better movers, more healthy individuals, helping our clients do better, helping our studios thrive because our clients are doing better. So it was a really exciting time to bring to the industry something that we haven't seen before, which is the culmination of business intelligence and an open-mindedness and mindset, and also bringing in the leaders in the industry to educate in the depth of the method, what people are sometimes potentially missing when we're moving so quickly through this industry. And there's so much growth at the moment that it's very easy to get caught up in what's required of you right now or what your studio needs to be doing, but also reflecting on what that means for your studio, your business, and what you need to lean into or potentially not.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from my experience, walking in to the expo, I know I love conferences, right? They bring so much energy. You get to meet people that you haven't, meet new people, but also catch up with a lot of people that you haven't seen for a while. And the expo was definitely that for me. A lot of friendly faces and familiar faces. It was so great to be in the room with people who I haven't seen for a while. It was fantastic and so fun. And there's always a really good energy around these sorts of, gatherings of people, right? And I think that often recently those have existed sort of in silos. But I think what I thought was so interesting about the Pilates Journal Expo was how it was actually a collaboration across so many different backgrounds of teaching methodologies. And it was really wonderful to have everyone in the same room, I felt. And really interesting then to get to explore parts of the industry and equipment and all of these innovative ways that people are, growing and developing ideas within this industry. So there was a lot of equipment manufacturers that at the expo, and that was super fun to explore. And there was a lot of conversations around business and personal perspectives as well, which is really interesting. And I think that, we often find as studio owners that a lot of studio owners tend to keep their head down, right, and work inside of their own four walls. But actually, growth now, I think, is coming from looking outside and collaboration and understanding what's happening in the industry and across industry learning. And I think that is really fantastic. So tell me a little bit more about the feedback that you got from the conference.
Most certainly, one of the biggest themes was the business side of Pilates. So I think people weren't sure whether there would be enough interest in that level or understanding of what you need to think about for your studio. But what we found is that people are really craving it, just like you said, Seran. And people also were very curious to hear what other people are doing differently to themselves, even if they're not in the same style of Pilates that you're teaching. If they're doing something differently, you can still take those borrowed skills or transferable skills into your business, whether that's from a marketing standpoint, retention, operations, systems. You can really sort of apply that knowledge and learnings and mindset to your business. So I think a lot of people got a lot from that. I think they also got a lot from being in rooms with presenters who were really open-minded and showing the different ways you can approach the method with respect to the foundations, of course. But again, being able to have those conversations about what clients expect. What we're seeing a lot across the whole industry at the moment is that clients are becoming more educated. They're more demanding. They're really more discerning about what they want out of studios. We've kind of gone through this really interesting shift where, for a long time, people didn't know what Pilates was. That now we're in an industry crossroads where the reformer boom brought so much visibility to Pilates, and that's a positive thing, that now more people understand what Pilates is than ever before. It's become part of mainstream wellness, which is fantastic. But now we have a moment in time to really educate people as to what matters, and the next era, I think, is going to be about depth, not just about growth. We're in growth, but we're heading towards depth and educating those clients. And that's, I think, going to shift and help studios in the future because people are becoming to understand there's more to what they're doing. And it's actually one of the topics we're going to discuss in one of our business panels at the Miami Expo. So lots of different feedback. But overall, like you said, I think connections, community, not realizing the conversations you're going to have, not realizing the collaborations you're going to make in the space, and also just seeing what's out there in the market. When you look at the expo hall, there's so much to explore. Yes, there are a lot of equipment providers in LA. There's going to be even more different products and software and things in Miami. Lots of brands that can help you support your business. So definitely worth looking at. Or if you're opening a studio, it's the place to come and find out all those tools and equipment that you might need.
Yeah, and isn't it great to have everyone under one roof? Because I think, as anyone who's looking at some, different software or thinking about different adding pieces of equipment into their studio, it's often one of the things that kind of gets pushed to the next day, the next week, the next month. Like but
Absolutely.
to come to one place and then get to sort of go from chit chat with different people from different places within the industry, from different equipment manufacturers, different software, etc. You really get a good sense as to what is out there. I think when you're really in your business and often wearing a lot of hats in your business and focus on teaching, it's really hard to learn, to find out, to sort of immerse yourself in sort of learning about what might be good for your business or not. And so spending some time sort of in one room with all of the different people that can help you grow, I think is just really powerful, really powerful.
Absolutely. And I think also we spend so much time working in the business, but not on the business, and being able to step away for a weekend to reflect, to consider what that is for you, what your goals might be for the next 12 months, knowing what your competitors are doing in the market. It's all really important stuff. Again, we're doing a business panel about moving from an instructor to a CEO mindset, running your own business, sort of moving beyond founder energy and what that means for you, understanding, how you transition into structured leadership, what you need to step away from, what you need to focus on. There's lots of exciting conversations like that that'll just make you think differently about how you approach your business.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got the business panels, and we know that we've got some fantastic exhibitors and from softwares to equipment manufacturers as well, and everyone in between. Tell us what else you're excited about the upcoming conference in September in Miami.
Yeah, look, really excited about the presenters we have coming on board who are really exciting, really dynamic, and people who are willing to think outside the box and can see the future of where the industry is headed and what they need to lean into to remain relevant, to give people depth, to challenge people, but also make them feel like there's a safe space for them to be a part of, those studios and those experiences they create. We've got people from Maria Leone, Tracy Mallett, Andrea Spear, also Jason Williams, Ken Lee Reid, Michelle Leach, some really interesting people with some really interesting perspectives and the way they see Pilates and how they teach it in their studios. I think over the weekend, you'll really get a greater emphasis on observation and critical thinking, how to develop your eye even further. Lots of conversations about longevity, adaptability, and client experience. So you'll really be leaning into these sorts of themes. And of course, we're going to be focusing on blending classical foundations with contemporary understanding and where that line is and how you do that effectively well. There's so many exciting sessions coming up. Ken Lee's going to do a really deep dive into athletic training, bringing an athlete to show people how it gets done, which is super exciting. Tracy's going to lean into exciting concepts like no springs, what do you do now? No flexion rather, which is really exciting. And I think, we're just really tapping into different experiences your clients either need or demand from you and how you curate that in that studio to make it successful. It's one thing to have it. It's one thing to make it work in your studio.
Yeah, it seems like what you are putting together with the lineup and the topics and the themes is so aligned with what we're seeing consumers looking for more of from the industry. I think as we see the focus become, yes, longevity and wellness and how important it is to have a body that is able to be flexible and mobile and coordinated, right, over the health span of your life, right? And how we know how much, many people are looking for that sort of community driven experience within a studio. And a lot of folks are looking for deeper knowledge from their instructors. I think it sounds like you're really curating the programming to really tie into what we're seeing and align really well with that, which is so interesting and so important. Because I really agree with you, CJ, from what you said earlier about where the industry is heading and where the next sort of phase of growth and development is going to come from, I do think that it comes from depth, that it comes from leaning more into the depth of the work. And what's been really fascinating to see, I'm sure you're seeing it, I'm certainly seeing it, is that there is a lot of instructors that have come into the industry knowing Pilates for Reformer, just like a lot of clients have come into the industry knowing Pilates for Reformer. But once they come in and they see the depth that is here and what exists beyond that, they want to learn and want to use that and to be a part of that as well. And so I think that it's really fantastic that you're integrating that into the experience that you're creating at the expos. Really great.
Yeah. And to your point, I think, that doesn't mean that we're, while we're looking at client experience as being a focus point, it doesn't mean that we are moving away from the center and the roots, but it's rather meeting the client where they're at, their level of understanding, because clients don't always know the difference, right? And, different teaching standards, different training pathways, different interpretations of Pilates make it really hard for clients to make sense of what's out there. And that's where the risk sits. And that's also, I suppose, in many ways, what's creating this, fragmentation in the industry. However, I think that's why these gatherings are so important, so that we start to align on principles and ideas. And we're not going to agree on everything, nor should we. No industry agrees on every single direction. But at the core, we're all working to the same objectives, to the same focus area or points of reference. And that's why at the expo, we're going to be doing a business panel about essentially that, the evolving expectations of the modern wellness consumer. So it's a way of really deep diving into that, hearing about the research that's happening in this area across the fitness landscape and how that impacts Pilates. We're in a really unique place with Pilates at the moment. So many more people are trying it for the first time. It's an exciting time to be in the industry. And I think it's a real opportunity for Pilates to become one of the most influential movement disciplines in the wellness industry. So we have a moment in time now to do something really effective with that and our place within it.
Absolutely. And it's so exciting, right? So exciting to think about the strategic partnerships that can come out of these types of events, and innovation evolution that comes from learning about what else is out there, the opportunity that exists, the collaborations, the exposure to new ideas. And, I always feel whenever I leave any conference, and, I've been to a lot of conferences over the last 12 years in the industry, that you always leave energized, you leave with ideas, insights. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to change anything dramatic necessarily, but you're so much more well equipped with where to focus and what to do next, or where you want to spend more time, or how you can evolve and grow in your business, but also as a professional. And I think that, as we legitimize this career path increasingly and more so than we have ever done before, I think, which is really important. It's important to invest in yourself and in your skills and in your, perspective and what you see. So it's exciting, really exciting. Okay, so you have a front row seat to conversations with all these different groups and segments of the industry. And you, on a global scale, right? You're speaking to people all over the world. So tell me a little bit about the conversations you're having about the direction of the industry. You talked a lot about depth, but tell me a little bit more details about, who's talking about what in what parts of the world. What are you seeing?
Yeah, absolutely. So lots of different conversations, of course, depending on whether it's education related, innovation related. There's so many different conversations, which is fantastic, which means that so many different people are trying different things to see if the market responds. I think the concepts that are really, or the themes that we're seeing that are being pulled out that people are really excited about are hybrid concepts. So we did a story with Pilates Anytime last month about this concept of the hybrid Pilates mover. That's what the Pilates Journal is calling it. And essentially what that means is we're seeing a new style of movement or a new type of mover who wants to be hybrid in their approach, who wants their Pilates but also wants to do something else, or perhaps blends them together, a bit of strength and Pilates put together. Or perhaps they're starting to look for more depth. In talking to Pilates Anytime, people a few years ago really wanted that 20-minute, half an hour workout, get in, get out. Now they're talking about 40, 50 minutes. People are wanting to explore a little bit more. People are wanting to engage and use the tower more. utilizing more apparatus, as people become more adapted and aware of what's available to them. So I think we're going to see a lot more hybrid concepts come up. And what we need to do as an industry, and particularly at the center of the industry, is support that rather than push it away, so that we can help them be better, so we can help them grow, so we can help them understand fundamentally the roots of Pilates at the center of what they're doing as well. There will be brands, I think, at the expo that are coming into Pilates for the first time, trying to understand it. And we have an opportunity to help guide them on where we think they should be in their Pilates experience and what kind of offering they put out to the world. So we can help influence and help them shape what that looks like. We're also seeing a lot of results-driven programming. I think that's no surprise. Lots of people are wanting results. We're seeing lots of conversations around recovery and longevity. And I think for many people who've been in the Pilates industry a long time, that might sound, hilarious, because we know it's about longevity, but for so many people, they don't know that, or it's how you're communicating it to that client, or how you're creating a workshop or experience that explains that in more detail, or running those community clubs or community gatherings where you're talking about these concepts in greater detail. These are the sorts of things that I think we'll start to see more of. I think studios will lean more into understanding, like you mentioned earlier, Seran, that, you can't compete purely on being a Pilates studio alone anymore. You need to think more broadly. How are you going to stand out in a competitive market? And in fact, that's one of the topics we'll also be talking about at the Miami Expo is, how do you stand out in a crowded market? What tools, what strategies are you pulling in? Are you thinking about community, running wellness experiences, run clubs, workshops? It doesn't have to be all these things either. It could be one thing that you do really well. Thinking about retention, instructor quality, operational experience and excellence, and your brand identity. All these things kind of come together. And I hope it doesn't overwhelm you by hearing all these things either. That's not the point. But the point is, tackle each piece when you can in your own time to make for a better business, to help your business be more successful over the long run. So we're seeing a lot of these threads. We're also seeing, I suppose, a lot of focus on the instructor's role and how it's expanding and what that means for studios. And when I say expanding, what I mean by that is that, the instructor has a really important role these days. They have a really important role to stand up in front of that group that you're teaching. And they also become the product. So the teacher becomes the product. It's not the machine. It's not the brand. It's not the aesthetic of the studio. The teacher becomes the product, because the clients come back for that teacher. They're invested in the teachers. And the studios that invest in mentorship, career pathways, education, depth, these are the ones that are going to dominate long term, because they're focusing on the things that matter to clients the most. We're actually soon to launch a mentorship directory on the Pilates Journal website to help so many instructors and studio owners be able to help their teachers when they say, I need a mentor, I don't know where to go, I don't know where to find someone. So they can lean in and find that support and resource for free through the Pilates Journal. We want to give back. We want to help people be able to find the tools that help them thrive in their careers and their businesses.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's so important. And, I see time and time again, the studios that I work with, many, I see a mix, right? I see a mix of people, of studio owners who have been in the industry for decades. And then I have a lot of folks that I work with who've been in the industry for, less than 2 years. And over again, what we see is that the teachers and those studios that invest in their teachers heavily are the ones that succeed and are the strongest. And when I say the strongest, I don't necessarily just mean in terms of like they have higher revenue numbers, but they have more robust businesses in that they're more sustainable, they're more consistent in their revenue, they're more consistent in their growth. But there's also, we talk about depth in the industry, there's also depth in the business where it is able to really sustain itself when you've got those strong teachers there too. And you're not sort of as an owner constantly in sort of a reactive mode. So the teacher piece of it is should never be overlooked. It's absolutely critical. And I think the studio owners that we've been in around a long time, know this, and they spend a lot of time finding the right people and training and mentoring them. And so, I'm glad you're giving this opportunity to others, because it is hard for folks starting out today, or for teachers who are joining the industry today, because there is a lot of noise out there and it's not always super easy to find your way. So all of those resources and support, I think, so, so important. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I think that's another reason why at the Miami Expo, we'll be also doing a business panel again. It's all related threads, right? They're all related to what we're seeing, what's happening, and what's of concern or of interest to our community globally. So another one is going to be about what we're calling the instructor crisis, which is really about tackling the increasing challenges studios are facing when it comes about recruitment, developing and retaining quality teachers. What are the tools? What are the strategies? Hearing from some leaders in the industry, both studio leaders, educators in the industry, career teachers, on building sustainable teams. So it'll be a really interesting conversation. Hopefully many people get many insights out of that so that they can bring that back into their studio as well.
Yeah. As we kind of wrap up, tell me a little bit about what it is that you hope that studio owners walk away feeling after attending the Pilates Journal Expo. How do you want people to feel when they leave at the end of it? Because that's what it's all about, right?
Totally. Couldn't agree more. I want them to feel energized, empowered, feel like they have a whole bunch of new skills or tools they're eager to take back to their studios that really make a difference, that you can actually implement stuff that takes you forward, takes your business forward, takes your career forward. I've been in so many conferences where you hear lots of ideas and you walk away and go, I'm not sure if any of these are really for me. But we want it to be meaningful depth, that you walk away and go, that is fantastic. I want to come back. I want to experience this again. I want to hear from different leaders across the industry. I want to hear from people that I didn't expect to hear their perspective, or perhaps adjacent to Pilates, people who sit slightly outside Pilates, but bring the skills of operational excellence, things that perhaps our industry hasn't had as much access to in the past. So it's really about giving you stuff that you walk away feeling empowered, feeling inspired, and your team feels that way as well, because they will notice the difference as well. The energy you bring back into the studio will shift. I'm sure of that. And it's a great way to bring your teams as well. Great way to make them feel, supported, challenged, all experiencing at the same time. That connected group of you all together there, I've seen change from that at previous events as well.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about where people can find out more about the upcoming expo. And then if they can't make that one, what's up next for you?
We have our Miami Expo in September. So you can find out more about that at pilatesjournalexpo.com. Tickets are now live and we're in our early bird ticket offer. So it's a great time to grab tickets. There's also a studio discount offer. So you can save almost 20% if 3 of you attend. So it's always great to know about that, because it can definitely make a great, excuse to come. It's a beautiful venue. We're in the Lowe's Miami Beach Hotel, so it will feel like a luxury weekend away as well. Drinks are included on the Saturday night. You'll get CCs. You can pick and choose and select the sessions you want to go to over the weekend, and you have to check out the expo hall, because there truly will be so many new exciting brands in that space that will definitely be worth exploring as well. If you can't make Miami, we'll be back in Los Angeles in January. So dates are soon to be announced, but it's around the same timing, around the same place. So look out for that. We've got some exciting speakers planned for that one already as well. So we're excited to keep, showing up and showing new ideas, showing the direction the industry is heading. We do an industry survey that's actually out at the moment, asking you all what your opinions are of what's happening in your studios, what's happening in your classes you teach. The individual teachers who teach at lots of different studios will be seeing things differently as well. So we're taking all those insights, sharing that back with the community at these events and across the Pilates Journal as well. So we love your input.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to share all of that in the show notes, so you guys can hop on in to learn a bit more and grab those links. CJ, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your insights today. I really, really appreciate it. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you.
Fantastic. So for everyone listening, if this conversation resonated with you, this is the reminder that you might need that building a successful business really does require more than just passion and drive. It really does require the leadership and community and collaboration and systems and strategy. And the good news is that you don't have to figure it all out alone. If you want to build a more profitable and sustainable and scalable studio business, I'd love to invite you to learn more about Thrive, my business coaching program for boutique fitness studio owners. You can learn more at spring3.com/thrive. Until next time, have a great rest of your week. Did you love this episode and want more? Head to spring3.com and check out my free resources that will help you run a profitable and fulfilling studio business. And before you go, one last reminder, there is no one way to do what you do, only your way. So whatever it is that you want to do, create, or offer, you've got this. Thanks again for joining me today and have a wonderful rest of your day.